I was going to start today with a Snakes on a Plane audition, but I just read something about this happened yesterday. A strike was called on a guy because his base runner didn't get back to the base in time. Leave this game alone. Where you people got to be? I say this to the so-called creatives who zip by me doing about 100 miles an hour on Sunset Boulevard in their cliche mobile Range Rovers and Teslas. I'll ask you guys, and everybody post-boomer for that matter, Gen X, Gen Z, millennials, whoever's in charge of these changes, stop it. Leave this game alone. Where you guys got to be.
The last
A
angry
baseball
man
game is meant to last all day. It's an all-day sucker.
Yeah.
And I can do about 19 things while a game is going on in person or on TV. I can read a magazine. I can prepare for my podcast. I can drink. I can abuse myself. I can do any number of things. And then I hear the crack of the bat. I look up like a deer in headlights. I'm ready to take in the action.
You
But
can do
no,
all that between pitches?
We got to save 35 minutes per game. Supposedly opening day, 35 minutes was the average of the time that was saved. So what are you going to do with that time? I want everybody to tell me, what are you going to do with those 35 minutes that you're so anxious to save? And I also want to see how long it takes MLB to make a rule against what I'm about to propose, which is my Aaron Judge strategy. Walk him.
Walk him.
He will not beat you. Walk him. The rest of his team isn't good enough to bring him around. Walk him every time.
Agree.
The Giants didn't do that yesterday and paid from the very first at bat. So you walk him from now on, his season-ending average will be 0-0-1. One home run, one RBI, exactly where it should be. Now, I yield the balance of my time for a responsible opposing viewpoint.
Well, I feel like walking a man every at-bat sounds detrimental to the game. Don't you think?
That's what I'm sure MLB would say. The only problem is no one's going to employ this strategy because it makes too much sense. In the top of the eighth last night, Oakland intentionally walked Ohtani. I don't blame them. I wouldn't blame them if they walked him every time.
Would you walk him with the bases loaded?
He won't beat you. And here's something else that I love. Because of the new rules, there were 21 stolen bases yesterday around MLB. 21. That's going to slow the game down, isn't it?
Well, your Lord says, thou shalt not steal.
There were two 10-9 games yesterday that each lasted like 3.5 hours. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. I just wanted to be on the record as saying that.
No, you should get on the record. I stand by you on that. Now, the question I have is, like, yesterday they were all praising the Twins game, like, oh, it was 2.5 hours long. It was a 2-0 game. Wouldn't it generally be about 2.5 hours long? Good Lord.
Incidentally, how was that televised? Because I heard that I had heard in the months leading up to this that your Bally Sports had gone bankrupt and there wouldn't be a way of seeing the games.
Well, as far as I know, the Bally's is still up.
And here is a little cue for the rest of you who think that Ohtani will go through the entire season as an Angel. The Angels won't even pay to send their broadcast team on the road. Have you ever heard of that?
What happened to that? Wow, that's crazy.
Of being that tight with $1 that you suspend your road package, your broadcast package, because you don't want to spend the money to put your people up in a hotel.
Then what are they
give them some meals?
What are they doing on the road games then?
I don't know.
Here's what I think. If they're following the path of MLS soccer, all their games now are on Apple TV. So basically, Bally's had the Minnesota United. They no longer have them. If you want to watch the United, you have to get Apple TV. then they take the road announcers. So the Minnesota's announcers will go and handle all their home games. And then on the road, we'll get, let's say they played Vancouver last week, we get the Vancouver announcers. So it's like they're splitting time. They're saving money left and right.
Yeah. So anyway, anybody who would save on their broadcast package, who don't want sponsors, don't want a way to make money on that, are probably not going to keep history's greatest two-way player. So let's just put that right out of our minds. I should also amend what I just said a few seconds ago. It might be the radio team that doesn't go on the road with them. Until I see otherwise, I'm going to continue to tune in for road games. There was a road game on last night, the first game against Oakland, obviously. And I assume that tomorrow night as well. We'll have to wait and see. We welcome those of you who may have been watching Major League Baseball today to the Bob and Kel CleverCast, the continuation part 2 of the multiphasic examination and personality inventory. Next week, Brush with Greatness, starring a friend of mine from Minneapolis named Jim Leinfelder, who has more brushes with greatness, quality brushes with greatness. I mean, like top tier celebrity stuff for a blue collar type guy as anyone I've ever met. So that should be interesting. And I suggest that both you guys bring your memorable brushes with greatness as well, and we can all share our celebrity brushes anecdotes.
I won't give away anything, but when we were doing the Bob and Kel show back in the Ruth station, RBN, we had a number of in-studio guests. Do you recall any of them?
Sure.
Oh.
Amy Adams.
Okay. Yeah.
Peter Bogdanovich.
Yes. My favorite, Jim
Susan
Bouton.
Orlean. Who?
Jim Bouton.
Jim Bouton was live in our studio?
Yes, he was. I was so happy to meet him.
Because I also want to say that I interviewed him over the phone at KSTP. But I've interviewed a bunch of people. It's easy to get them confused. Susan Orlean, the writer who's still out there doing it for the New Yorker, we interviewed her as well.
Yes.
Had a kind of a cringy moment. For some reason, I thought she might enjoy taking one of my movie scripts with her. That was just a bout of temporary insanity.
Yeah.
And also one more announcement before we resume the multiphasic exam. I'm going to try for 5 days to get into a rehab in Malibu. They advertise on local TV here called Seasons Malibu. I'm not addicted to anything, but my position has always been there's a fine line between addiction and something you just enjoy doing every day. So the irony is, can I get in if I pay the money? Will they accept me? And then once I get in, how do I sneak my passions in? My vodka, my cigarettes, my phone for my bookie, all the things that make life worth living. Will I be able to get them in there at this rehab center so I can satisfy my curiosity as to what goes on there? Is there still a Hazelden, by the way, in Minnesota?
Yeah. As far as I know, yes,
my favorite anecdote about Hazelden was that a friend of mine, a director, I forget who was related to him. It might have been him now that I think about it. I don't know. I don't want to mention any names. He goes up to the counter to check in, and who does he see there? His own brother-in-law.
Wow. The small world.
Yeah. Blood is thicker than, I don't know, a blood
Vodka.
test or something. Because, yeah. Yeah, that's Hazelden. And you say it's still going?
As far as I know, yeah. Actually, I've talked to a few people. Talked to a few people who work there, not attend the place. No.
If you guys didn't have families, maybe you could try to get into Hazelden at the same time I try to get into Seasons Malibu, and we can do a Zoom from rehab. We can do the rehab edition of the show.
With our straight.
Okay, so opening announcements are done. Oh, I got to do sponsors. I got to pay some bills here. This week's Bob and Kel CleverCast is brought to you by Bladder Beer, the beer that goes right through you. Be the first beer drinker on your block to say, yeah, baby. Okay. Get bladder beer and bladder light at any participating liquor locker, French liquor, or liquor up front, poker in the rear. And by Gladki Latki, St. Cloud Mahtomedi, Gladki family recipe from old country, potato pancakes to die for, melt in mouth, not in hands. Hail Gladki Latki with fine wine or bladder beer IPA.
I don't know if I'm supposed to appreciate that or take offense.
Do you like potato pancakes?
Not really,
I
no.
could have added a line like, crusty on outside, soft on inside, like man himself. But I didn't do that.
You didn't.
So just enjoy the potato pancakes. Except the premise, you'll enjoy the bit. Have you ever had a potato pancake?
No, I haven't either. I stay away from them.
You stay away from potato pancake.
I'm not a fan. No, I'm not a big fan of pancakes. I'd rather have a waffle than a pancake, believe it or not. Isn't that strange?
But it's a potato. How do you feel about potatoes in general?
I like fries. I like a good mashed potato, but you know, I'm a little picky with my potatoes.
But mashed into the shape of a pancake, that puts you off. You recoil in horror.
I'm a strange guy. You know that.
This makes perfect sense. Well, it's right here in the results of the multiphasic exam. He's a strange guy. I entered all the information into the computer, and out comes the message. He's a strange guy.
I can't tell if this is a nice way to say, let's get to know Kel, or if it's a way to ridicule Kel. I think there's a fine
It's
line.
a way to get to know me too, because every question that I ask, I have an answer for. From my side also, here's a good example, because this happened to me this past Sunday. Have you ever seen anyone so extremely large out in a public setting, let's say a commercial setting, so extremely large, or a mature adult so extremely small that you thought you were high? We should probably ask this question. Have you ever been high? Would you recognize when you are high?
I would recognize it. I've had enough secondhand highness.
Okay, good. A contact high, good.
Yes. You know what? I've seen a number. I've been to the state fair. I've seen a number of over really large people, really small people, freaks, as it were. So I would say yes. I would say that would feel like you were on some sort of trip, as it were.
I was seated next to an enormous man at a Berkeley restaurant. I saw walking away from me an enormous man, and I mean a freaking mountain, at the DC Zoo. And I had to sit down. I said, sit me down and talk, and let's talk this out, and get me a towel for my forehead, because I think I'm overdosing on something. Last Sunday, Brentwood AOC, it's a restaurant by that name. We're walking out of the place, and at one of the outdoor tables, there's a little Asian guy, but a mature adult, who's standing up in his chair, Kel, so he can be the same height as the people who are seated that he's eating with. And I turned to my Sunday brunch partners and I said, I need to lie down in the back of my car before we leave, because I think I'm on something. I think somebody has slipped me a Mickey.
Gosh, it's a regular Guinness Book of World Records with you. You know, the world's largest man, the world's smallest woman. It's crazy.
Do you recall your most recent contact high? Which, by the way, they're going to multiply if you guys ever get around to proving recreational marijuana.
Yeah, they'll probably never do it here in Minnesota. It makes too much sense.
You have a rock concert past where people show up and smoke marijuana before the show?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And you get home and you reek of it, and
yeah, remember the old shop down in the valley? So records. Yes.
Yeah.
You can come out of there smelling rather nice.
Down in the valley, if I recall, was it Golden Valley?
Yeah.
Where it was located?
Wow.
I could swear it was located right next door to Twin Cities Reptile for all your reptile needs. If you needed a reptile or an amphibian, that's where you went in the Twin Cities. I'm not making this shit up, man.
I wonder if they'd be willing to sponsor the show.
I don't even know. You know, this was like 20 years ago. There may not be a Twin Cities Reptile.
Oh, I'm sure they're still around.
maybe they would sponsor our snakes on a plane auditions. That would be perfect.
Perfect fit.
I love it.
Here's my last contact high. It was the Greek Theater in LA, and hard to believe, a contact high at a Cheech and Chong show. Cheech and Chong emceed a War and Tower of Power concert.
Wow.
And halfway home, I start laughing at the least little thing, just totally out of context, just laughing. Then I realized, holy crap, I could be pulled over for smoking marijuana, and I never smoked. I was just sitting next to, I was at a Cheech and Chong show. What do you expect from a Cheech and Chong show? You're going to get high.
Still smoking. Yeah. I've not really smoked ever, Bob. That's why you've smoked for the both of us, I guess you could say. When was the last heater you had?
Smoked anything. You never smoked anything.
Nothing.
Well, fortunately, you don't have to smoke now because it comes in edible forms and oils and probably Cheerios, you know.
What do you think
It's
about
all kinds of
what do you think about vaping? You see the kids doing that these days.
I don't see the attraction of sucking on something metal. You know, that doesn't
Like a flash drive. Yeah, just put a flash drive in your mouth.
Putting a metal thing to your mouth and sucking on it, I don't get it.
Oh, that's off-putting.
And then this billowing thing like you're in Jamaica, you know, this ganja cloud. I don't understand. Okay. Next question.
All right.
What is your favorite day of the week?
I'm going to go with the over-popular Friday.
All right. And the reason for that would be?
Oh, end of the work week, earliest day of the weekend. Gotta love it all. You know, it's just, there's so much hope for the weekend on Friday.
Would you prefer to work in America like they work in Europe, the 3 or 4 day week, the 10-hour days, and have yourself a 3-day weekend?
I think I would probably go for that.
Okay.
What about you? What is your favorite day of the week, Bob?
Well, thanks for asking. It's Sunday, because everything gets thrown at you or at least in my home on a Sunday. You have I make a special fried egg dish. We either go to church or do the live stream church here. Bloody Mary after, nice nap, some sort of sports, beach walk. It's just Sunday New York Times. It's just a bouquet of joyous things.
Super Sunday, the Lord's Day. That's
Absolutely.
your day.
To keep it holy. That's correct. Okay, now how about this? Let's test your powers of perception. Are you seeing commercials in your market for a company called CarShield?
I've heard CarShield before. Yes, I'm sure. Now, It's not popular these days to watch a lot of commercials because you can just zip right through those with the remote control, you know.
Well, see, with the 35 minutes that you save from watching the new shortened ball games, you have time now to bone up on the new commercials. The CarShield commercial I'm referring to, I hope you've seen it. Otherwise, this part of the show is just going to fall flat. The star of it is an actress named Vivica A. Fox. Are you familiar with her?
Yes, from Kill Bill and many others.
So the next time you see this, or the first time you see this CarShield commercial with Vivica A. Fox, note what she's wearing. It looks like she's been shoplifting from Goodwill. She has this tawdry leopard thing thrown over this horrid denim thing, and the zipper on it is like down to, you know, it's down. It's got the zipper down. Yeah. And I just can't believe that anyone would allow her to leave the house looking like that. But CarShield, somebody insisted that she looked like that. That's Vivica A. Fox right there. That's exactly right. But she's not wearing the outfit that I am referring to.
Well, this one's a plunging. This woman is busty.
Leopard over denim, and man, I can't explain it. I was hoping you could.
I don't know. I see a lot of leopard prints out there, and I'm like, that decision seems to be an odd one to me, you know.
Okay. Here's one I think you'll love because it mentions a country that's close to your heart. During your extensive travels in Argentina,
all right,
have you ever witnessed the arrest of an elderly Nazi?
No.
I didn't, but it could have happened. I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen plenty of arrests in Argentina.
Mhm.
I've seen plenty of Nazis. I've
Yes.
never seen one of said Nazis be arrested.
No. Do you look very closely at all in your relatives, your in-laws' neighborhood in in this city? We won't mention it because we don't want them to be harassed. In Argentina, have you ever taken note of the names on the mailboxes?
Oh,
And, and
Bob.
and and if so, do you ever see like Mengele or
Goebbels.
Schwartzman? Because the tennis player Diego Schwartzman could live in
Yeah.
that neighborhood.
Well, my father-in-law's name is Adolf. You know that.
Did you ever ask him why that is?
He never goes by it. His nickname is Coco. That's what he was
And,
always known by, Coco.
and
But I've often wondered if he had a shaved head and no mustache. But I've often wondered, could my father-in-law have indeed been the Fuhrer?
this is like the Margaret becomes Peg thing. I've always thought that was a mystery. How out of Margaret you could get Peg. How do you get Coco out of Adolf?
Something's
Because you'll
lost in
notice
translation, but
that many years in the past, I'm assuming that Adolf Hitler's nickname was not Coco.
what would you think his nickname would have been?
Hit or Addy or AH. The only thing is, AH is also the initials for asshole. And he certainly came by that nickname, honestly, didn't he?
Yes.
Because, I think Eichmann was discovered in and apprehended in Argentina. But you've never seen a police raid of any kind. You've never seen anyone led away in handcuffs.
I mean, I have seen it, but never a Nazi. No, it was a number of just a really tried and true Argentinian Latino person, criminal.
Just
But it
just a
happens.
regular old criminal.
Yeah. Now I should turn the question on you. Have you ever seen a Nazi in Argentina?
Well, let me put it this way: we have Nazi busters in our neighborhood. 2 doors down is an icon in American commercial real estate whose last name is Perlman. As long as you surround yourself with the Perlman families and relatives,
Oh,
no Nazis
oh,
will bother you. So this is
oh,
a Nazi. This is a Nazi-free zone.
good. Yeah, that's a good thing to know. Chalk that up to experience. I understand.
Speaking of ethnicity, let's segue to this one on the multiphasic examined personality inventory. Would you feel self-conscious being the only white person in a room full of black people?
Wow. That's the leading question, Your Honor, but I would say I would not feel self-conscious. I mean, I think
What
yeah,
it
I
would
mean,
the purpose of the gathering probably would be a factor. I walked into a sports book in Washington, D.C. Now, I mean, it's freaking D.C. I don't know what I was expecting, but I walked in and all of a sudden, you know, I'm in a Tarzan movie. No, I didn't
I
say that.
I
All of a
can't you
sudden,
can't
I'm the
say
only
that.
white guy in the room. There are like 100 black guys there to place a bet, and I'm the only white guy. And I'm trying to look around. Well, I think I'll take the alma mater today, giving 4 points. Yeah, I just would just mind
You
my
all
own
have
business,
something in common though. You're
look straight
trying to
ahead.
place a bet. It's like that's black, red, yellow, whatever. Betting is international.
No. Quick question, Kurt. Am I completely in shadow?
We can see you, but yeah, it's not ideal lighting.
Well, the next time I sit down in lighting that is less than ideal, will you tell me?
I think it's funny that you told the the black guy joke and your room went dark.
Hey, that's I am the master of irony. All right, let me do this.
I think it's
How's
because
that?
it's
Is that any better?
Um,
No?
fine.
not
You have
better.
this halo, this aura around you from
Yeah.
the bright light outside.
Yeah, the bright light is overexposed, but we can see you.
Oh, the bright light. Okay. All right.
Don't worry about it, Bob. You look good in any light.
Good.
Well, it's very
Oh,
nice of you to say. How's that? Is that any better?
That is
wonderful.
better.
Okay. So you would not feel self-conscious
I
if you
mean,
were the only
maybe
white man in a room full of black people.
maybe in my younger days, I don't know, dude. That's not a nice question to ask. I pass. Let's go to the
Hey,
next one.
then you're going to have to take this up with the folks at Mayo Clinic because it's on their multiphasic exam.
You just
Well, how about this? Would you feel self-conscious being the only white man in a room full of black women?
no, that would be a pleasant
No,
experience.
that's Dracula at the
Yeah.
blood bank is what that is. Yeah. Now you've
But
changed your tune. Now you're glad I've asked that question. Yeah, I could be there to introduce you to Halle Berry. Let's see. Could you kill Putin? Do you have it in you to kill Putin? Have you frozen up completely? I think your screen has frozen up completely.
It has. He's gone.
Or maybe he wants to impress upon us that he's married because he's holding up his wedding ring hand in a very gratuitous way to let us all know, sorry, girls, he's taken. I'll continue with the test until Kel rejoins us.
No.
Could you kill Putin? The answer to that from me would be, show me where to be. Give me the date and time. Give me the means. Tell me what trigger to pull. Tell me what switch to flip. Tell me what lever to crank in order to kill this demon, and I would be glad to do it, knowing that even though I am probably killed by a Russian thug on the spot, that my picture would be framed in living rooms all over the world because I will save the world from this madman. Ideally, the way Putin would die is on the morning that he feels like doing some of his iconic shirtless horse riding. You've seen pictures of Putin without a shirt on his horse. That the night before, I will have snuck into the stable and deposited an explosive horse suppository that is timed to go off the next morning at a certain time whenever he comes out for his morning constitutional with his favorite stallion. And then let's say 9 bells, sun is well up, birds are tweeting in the spring in Russia, kablooey. The horse and the rider are decimated and the world is saved. That is a violent fantasy of mine, which I take up with my own therapist every week.
Okay. I just got word from Cal. He lost power.
He lost power.
Yeah.
Is this because of new snow that's falling there?
It's raining right now. It's raining pretty hard right now, and it's gonna switch.
Oh, for goodness sake! It's like you poor guys live in Mexico City. The least little rain and it just shuts you down completely.
Yeah, at my house we had a few glitches too. It's just rain. It's not snowing or anything yet. But anyway, they're expecting.
And so it rains and you lose power.
Mm-hmm.
The last time that happened to me was 1977 in Monterrey, Mexico. Keep in mind, this is 45 years ago in Monterrey, Mexico. You can imagine how primitive the condition that was in the Grand Hotel Ancira. And here's what they did. They lit candles and put a candle on every step leading upstairs because the elevators weren't working. And you had to step alongside the candles to get to your room. Hopefully, Kel did not have to resort to candles, although I see him attempting to break through Earth 2 and join us.
Do you see? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
This is fantastic. This is like the first night of the Iraq War, where you're holed up there and reporting for CNN, and the war has just started, and the tracer fire outside your window. How's it feel?
I don't know. It's weird. It's like all of a sudden everything froze up and no lights. Either I guess somebody up there didn't like the black guy room jokes.
So how did you restore your Wi-Fi if you have no power?
I don't know. I mean, if you're out, if your phone always is able to, if you don't have Wi-Fi, you still can roam. You know, if you're out and about, your phone
Yep.
will still always work. So I didn't realize that until a couple minutes, but here I am.
By the way, it just occurs to me that in Tarzan movies, Tarzan was the only white man, and the forest was completely stocked with black men. So we should ask Tarzan. We should exhume Johnny Weissmiller in a seance and ask him, were you self-conscious with all those black guys around? You're the only white man, and Jane was the only white woman. Did you fear for her safety? How did that go? You know? So in a way, I felt terrible about the possibility that the joke might be in bad taste. But now I'm talking myself into the other side of the coin. And I think I'm convinced that I may have happened upon something irreverent, but creative, still in semi bad taste.
What'd you guys do while I was gone?
We talked about killing Putin.
As you do.
And did you join us when I was explaining how I fantasized Putin would die? And that would be that his horse would blow up, and while he was riding on it shirtless, and he would blow up too.
Well, I'm sad I missed it. I'll have to listen to the podcast recording tomorrow.
You have no violent fantasies? Boy, this is really fertile ground for a multiphasic exam. Do you have violent fantasies?
Well, I mean, there was somebody who got indicted last night. I would have loved to seen him dragged kicking and screaming with handcuffs on to the jail cell. But
you know what? It's odd that you should mention that, because I'm seeing on television right now that Lindsey Graham is quoted as saying that when Trump comes to New York on Tuesday, he should bash out the window of a storefront and hit a cop. I kid you not. He's urging Trump to be violent when he turns up to be arraigned. Can you believe that? The things people are saying, it's just
I couldn't even imagine Trump being violent. He's just I don't know.
Or having the energy to be violent.
Anyway. Right.
My new violent fantasy has to do with a lunch that I had to cancel a few weeks ago. Are you refrozen now? Or can I go ahead and say this? Kurt, what's your opinion?
Okay, I can hear you.
It's good for now.
Okay. In the week leading up to a Twin Cities visitor's arrival here on business, someone whom I don't know that you'd call it a friendship, but relationship had always been civil. But since he's caught this Trump anti-woke bug, well, I shouldn't say Trump, I should say DeSantis. It seems to have added, and this is what is happening, I sense, around the country, to white men who catch the anti-woke bug, that it adds an inch, at least an inch, to their penis. In other words, it doubles it. They become more macho than ever before. And he was frankly insulting in every text message to me. I won't go into detail, but by the time the lunch date came, I had to make up an excuse to cancel. Because if I had met him at this place, I would have used my knife and fork to kill him in public.
A butter knife.
And people would come over from adjoining tables and say, "Why are you stabbing this man with your knife and fork?" And I would say, "No, I'm performing emergency open heart surgery on him." And then they would say, "Well, what are you doing between his legs?" And I would say, "Well, he has testicular cancer too, and I'm trying to get rid of the reasons for that." I mean, this really got chippy to the point where I had to cancel lunch, or I would have killed him, Kel.
Wow.
So that's a violent fantasy, and also an answer to the question, have you ever saved a life? I saved his life by canceling lunch with him.
Well,
I think the life-saving thing that we discussed last week, I think we asked that question last week, and I told you that someone kept me from stepping out into the street, or I would have been decapitated by the side mirror of a city bus. Remember that?
Yes.
I have to sell another sponsorship, if you don't mind, at this point in the show, the midpoint. Bob and Kel CleverCast, brought to you by the new competitor for PGA and LIV golf, HDB. Our initials stand for hit the damn ball. There'll be no club waggling, no tossing of pinches of grass in the wind to see which way the wind is blowing, no conferences with caddies, no lining up of putts that last an eternity. Our players are white, slight, and frightened. We are mid-teens handicappers carrying our own clubs, racing from tee to green. We play fast in the world's most dangerous places: Watts District, Chicago's South Side, East St. Louis, downtown Detroit, to name just a few. This coming Sunday, our next 18-hole exhibition is set for the South Bronx, New York City, at night, under the lights, which should take about 45 minutes. What you do with the extra 4 or 5 hours you save as a spectator is totally up to you. But if you've ever found yourself, as I have many times, because I like, meaningful golf competitions, PGA on TV, I'll find myself shouting at the TV screen, "Oh, for God's sake, hit the damn ball." Have you ever felt like shouting that?
Always.
If you found yourself doing that, then our tour is for you. HDB, hit the damn ball. All right. Is there a part of your body that you have not seen?
Well, my body is a wonderland, as John Mayer once said.
But have you
I
seen
would
all of it?
say I have taken inventory. I would say I've seen most of it. I guess I haven't taken a hard look at my undercarriage. I'm sure you have. I don't even have to ask the question.
Well, here's why I know that I have. I only did it once, and I held a mirror down to my perineum, which is the area between the testicles and the anal aperture.
The taint.
And there's a
taint.
sell-by date there. There's an expiration. There's an expiration date tattooed on my perineum, and so I know when I'm going to die. So,
Wow.
asked you.
You did. You got me.
Oh, who do you think named the parts of the body, internal and external? How do you think those words came about?
Well, those would be well, what's
For instance,
I mean,
the duodenum. How do you think they came up with the word duodenum or spleen? See what I'm saying?
spleen. Yeah, you're right. There's
Yeah.
got to be something for every word in the English language. Had to come from somewhere. But
Kidney.
where?
I mean, it could have been called polar bear, but they called it kidney. And now we think of that area of our body as the kidney. How do you think that was named? Because I don't know. Do you know?
I don't, but there's got to be some sort of history, some sort of recollection. I mean,
Yeah.
did cavemen grunt these words and then they became letters and not, I mean, what? I don't know.
I did hear some folklore that a guy in Georgia, hundreds of years ago, was tasked with coming up with a name for the anal aperture. And he just reached into the phone book and came across the name of the rectum family. And he named that area for them. And from then on, the word for that area was called the rectum.
Oh,
Can you imagine having the word rectum on your mailbox? People driving by and say, "Let's look in on the rectum, see what's going on." That's how that area of the body got its name.
well, I heard a very
Cody's
similar
beginning to
story that they
squirm,
were
let the
looking.
record show.
I heard the story about a family. This guy was looking at an area and he said the word "ola" and it was called the areola. Yeah, areola. That's where it came from.
Check this out. If you do a little research into your Los Angeles area news reporters for TV, there
Yes.
is a woman whose last name, so help me God, her name is Annette Areola. Her name is Areola. It's never occurred to her to change it.
Oh,
What do you think her nicknames on the playground of her youth were? For goodness sake,
oh,
don't
they would be cruel.
take that. Don't take that
Kids are
abuse.
cruel. Kids are very cruel. I
They
had
are.
my second grade teacher. Her name was Cindy Clitty.
Cindy, what?
Clitty.
How do you spell it?
CLITTY.
That's unfortunate. That's an unfortunate name.
What you're looking at is the only time in my life that I've been dumbfounded, spellbound.
I just feel
Also,
he's the
the only
sweetest. He was the
reaction onto
sweetest
that,
woman. Sweetest woman in the world.
the only I'd like to put her together with one of the rectum guys and see if they won't breed in captivity. Except the rectum boys would probably want to take the Hershey Highway, and I think Ms. Clitty would have a problem with that. Did you know that our light rock station here in Los Angeles, the call letters are KLIT?
I didn't know that. Every time you you look at it, you would, yeah. No, it isn't. You're
It
joking
is.
again.
Look it up
No.
after the show.
That's
KLIT.
Great marketing.
But
Oh,
they keep referring to it as on the sounders, K-Light for blah 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 blah. They don't work blue like you do, Kel.
They gotta
yes.
own it. I think they should own it.
You're so talented. I don't understand why you feel you have to work blue.
It's true. It's true.
No, what you should be saying is, there's the pot calling the kettle black. Which is the most annoying sound? Joy Behar or Dick Vitale? The
I'll
most
go with
annoying
Joy.
sound.
There is no Joy, so I'm going to say Joy Behar is. I can't handle it.
Either one is what the mute button was made for, but The View is what hell will be like with Dick Vitale as a guest. If Dick Vitale ever guested on The View, that's what hell would be like.
Right.
That
All those
on a
other
loop
hell.
for eternity.
Is Whoopi still on the? She's got a terrible voice too.
She is. She's got a voice like that, look like Satchmo.
I mean,
But why don't we just stop
Rosie
and
was on there?
do a Snakes on a Plane audition with Whoopi Goldberg? You know what? I'm fed up with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
Oh, don't, you're cursing on the air. Come on, Whoopi, you know better. You want to get suspended again?
Who was that?
Well, I don't know. It was another of the View contestants. Have you ever heard a Taylor Swift song?
Oh yes, I love Tay. Tay
Do you
Tay.
really? Do you
Yeah.
own her music?
I do. Yes. I mean, it was early on. I mean, it's been years since she's had started. So my daughter, that was one of her favorite artists, and that helped us bond a little bit. When we drive to school in the morning, we listen to some Taylor Swift.
Let the record show I'm doing a
thought it was
Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, I know. Remember the old tennis
Do you
player?
have any?
Yeah.
Do you have any nevers that you're proud of? Because I'm proud of never having heard a Taylor Swift song. And
Well-
I've never seen The Last of Us. I've never seen Schindler's List or Juno.
What?
I've never done so many things, and I'm proud of it. Never.
Wow.
Never have I ever. I've never
Never.
seen Never Have I Ever. Never, ever.
But you have seen your perineum.
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 That's where the timestamp is. That's where the expiration date is. I don't know whose idea that was. Did you know that my father supposedly had one of the longest small intestines of all time? We were told this after a surgery of his. And I said, I'll bet there was a mix-up in heaven. And I'll bet the angel was sent down here to give all the Yates men a really large penis, but something got mixed up in the paperwork, and we wound up with really large intestines. How cruel is that? Isn't that just the cruelest, saddest thing you've ever heard?
It's the cruelest blow.
I could have had a sideline in adult films, and instead it's just taking longer to use the restroom. That is cruel. Have you ever seen well, no, we did this last week. Have you ever seen a Stormy Daniels movie?
No, we didn't. Did we? I've never have.
Yeah, we did. Have you ever sent an entree back to the kitchen?
Yes. Yeah, I'm fairly certain I had a steak that was overdone or something, to that like.
Okay. Have you
Hair in
ever
the food? I think I've had hair in the food.
hair? Is it your
Yeah.
own hair that you put in and then you
I'm
no?
fairly certain it was not, but
Okay. All right.
What about you, Bob? Have you ever had returned something to the kitchen?
You know what? I don't give any of those people any problems because if I were in their position and someone in my position gave me a problem, I would find a way to
Fit in their food.
expectorate in the next version of the dish.
Yeah,
See what I'm
true.
saying?
Yeah, no,
So
you're
I
right.
I try to stay on their good side.
Who was it? James Corden who had that big hubbub where he was.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
at that New
that's
York restaurant about the
right.
egg white omelet, which I didn't even know existed.
Yeah, he claimed it was because his wife had health issues or something like that. That doesn't mean you can be an asshole.
Yeah, I was just going to say, James Corden strikes me as a little bit of a dick. How about you?
I agree. Glad he's moving. Is he done? He said he was going to be done hosting, and I think he's still hosting. I don't know. I'm waiting for the man to be finished. You never saw
What
the
are your
film
feet?
Cats, did you?
I'm sorry.
Did you ever see the film Cats? I'm turning this on you.
I
Have you
saw
ever
the film Cats and I saw the musical Cats twice.
Wow. Yeah, I feel
And
like I've never seen it.
that's a
So I can
personal record exceeded only by my Annie exposure.
Oh,
I had to see Annie. You know, when men have to do this shit, a woman has to be involved. And
yes,
so
yes.
and so I saw Annie in various forms too many times. Same thing with Cats.
Hmm. I've never seen Cats, and I'm proud of it.
I would like to see a show called Cats, Katz, about one of my Jewish neighbors who's keeping me away from Nazis. I'd like to see
Along with
that
Mis-
show.
along with Mr.
I'd like to do
Perlman.
the book for that musical.
All right.
What are your feelings toward? Oh wait, you've frozen up again. And by the way, you got a lot of headroom, man. Okay, now you're back. What are your feelings toward the homeless? Is it sympathy? Is it anger? Is it annoyance? What are your feelings toward the homeless? How would you feel we could get rid of that problem where you wouldn't have to step over people in order to get into a grocery or a restaurant?
I would like to, if it was socially acceptable, I'd love to stop and talk to them and find out what their problems were. Because, every so often they get labeled, oh, this person's a druggie. This person, there's a reason he's homeless. He's unemployable, that type of thing. And I'd just like to figure out, is he really, unemployable, or is, this guy just struggling and he just needs a real hand to help? So I don't know. I'd love to find out more.
All that my partner and I can do until this problem is eradicated once and for all, and they're trying their best, finally, in LA, thanks to Mayor Bass, is when we come out of the restaurant with doggy boxes, we leave them on park benches or bus benches or on corners so that hopefully a homeless person can find them. Not to encourage them to continue to be homeless, but let's face it, people got to be fed.
Yep.
So that's what we're doing for now. I'm hoping that at some point they'll realize that the clock needs to be turned back to 1985, when Ronald Reagan said to himself, "Well, I'm a little bored with this federal hospitalization of the deranged. Why don't we just let them all out and save a little money?" So we're now into the third generation of the unwise philosophy of Ronald Wilson Reagan. We're paying for it.
You're
Just
right.
about, this is one of those don't get me started deals. Because to me, especially since Hoover, let's say, market forces, job creators, that kind of thing that led us to the Great Depression. Since Hoover, every problem in the United States can be laid at the doorstep of one party and one party only. And I think you know what that one is.
I do, yes.
All
Speaking
right.
of Ronald Reagan, how would he have promoted snakes on a plane?
Well, I don't know about you, Mommy, but he used to call Nancy Mommy. I
He
don't know
did.
about you, Mommy, but I'm getting fed up with the motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane. I think I was accidentally veering into Garrison Keillor there, and I apologize for that.
Sometimes they are blurred.
Did you see where Garrison Keillor associate Tim Russell is finally being voted into the Minnesota Broadcast Hall of Fame?
I couldn't be prouder. I worked with Tim a number of years at WCCO.
Long overdue. What will your first splurge, your first extravagance be when the nest in Mahtomedi is finally completely empty?
What do you mean the nest? What?
Well, when the
the empty nest. I got you. Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
when
Let's
all
say-
children are gone and it's just you and the missus and maybe some disposable income because all the children are gone. What is the first extravagance you're going to invest in?
Oh, I think a trip to maybe motherland, Argentina, but also I'd love to get to Europe. I've never been a lot of places outside the country, so I'd love to start visiting. It'd be fun traveling.
Quick warning about Europe right now. They're all on strike. All the European countries are on strike. So good luck getting a cab from the airport, you know.
How about you, Bob? Well, wait, no, I can't really turn that question
I really
on
don't
you.
need to. I really don't need a splurge or an extravagance. I have one. It's in the garage, and we had a visitor this past week who asked the provenance of it, and I said my mother died, left me a lot of money, so I bought an Italian spaceship.
Yeah.
And I don't need any more extravagances. The nest has been empty for almost 12 years now.
Let's turn the question on its side then. Would you move back in with your kids if
You mean like that? All right, you're turning the question on its side, and what is this?
Would you if you were invited, would you go back to living with your kids? Like that reverse empty nest.
You know what? I wouldn't go anywhere that I wasn't invited.
Right.
You'd have to invite me.
But could you, if you were invited, could you live with your kids? That's a good question. I don't know if I would want to again.
This sounds like a sitcom, actually. Is it a sitcom? Is that where you're getting it?
I am. It is a sitcom idea starring Bob Yates.
Have you seen any of the new Rob Lowe sitcom on Netflix? The one with his real life son?
I've heard about it. I have not watched it yet.
It debuted yesterday.
Too busy with Ted Lasso.
Oh
Okay.
my God! Don't say
I'll
that
check it out.
again. This is another never that this may be the all-time never that I'm proud of. I've never seen 5 seconds of this over-publicized show. Not 5 seconds.
You hate shows for the masses, don't you?
When the media can't shut up about something, I am such a rebel. I go exactly the opposite way. If they made a show about me and it was popular, I wouldn't watch it. I've only caught on to 2 popular trends in my entire life: Seinfeld and the Beatles. Other than that, I'm popularity project free. Except I watch a little Succession now and then.
Yeah, Succession is popular.
Yeah.
You never watched oh man, so many HBO shows are so good, but yeah, you steer clear.
Let's do one more and then we'll close.
Okay. Close with a prayer.
Have you ever we could do that too. That would actually make me feel at home. As our pastor says, pray with me.
Yes.
And then we pray with her. And then they open the doors and everybody goes out onto Wilshire, and the people who are on Wilshire don't know that you've been in church and you're full of the Lord's Spirit and whatnot. They're going to run your ass over. So you have to really be careful. You have to actually drop what you learned in the last hour about Christian virtues, and you have to get cutthroat right away when you go to church in LA. One more, and then we'll close with a word of prayer. Have you ever been publicly humiliated by someone of another race?
Oh my God. That's really on the
Or
this question sheet.
perhaps a Jewish person, someone who was not like you, who maybe wasn't even born here, and here you are, cock of the walk, white male heterosexual in America, and someone's dressing you down, and how does that make you feel?
Well, are they doing it with love in their voice?
No.
It's all hatred, all hate all the time. No, I, look at this face. Could you dress me down and just let me have it? Don't answer that question. But
I'm thinking. Here's what happened in a doctor's office. The doctor, a perfectly presentable diabetes doctor, I'd still be with him if his office assistant wasn't so condescending. An Hispanic woman talking down to me, scolding, condescending, interrupting, being rude. And I'm thinking, is this a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode that I found myself in? Because how do you think Larry David would take that?
Yeah, you two are cut from the same cloth.
Remember the time that he locked his car, and the honk sounds, and the black guy says to him, "Hey, I'm not going to steal anything out of your car. Why are you locking it around me?"
Yeah.
And this is what it reminded me of. And you know what I did? I said to myself, I wasn't going to come back at her. I was going to do the Christian thing and walk away. But I said to myself, you are dishonoring your rich, racist late father's hatred of Mexicans. If you stay here any longer, you need to change doctors. You need to not be exposed to this woman's dysfunction ever again. And it was the worst decision I ever made. I've been with 2 or 3 doctors since then who weren't nearly as good, and it was because I couldn't take the abuse of someone of another race. Doesn't that sound like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode?
It's definitely a problem.
It's like that. It's like that little vignette in Excel where I hadn't seen you for a couple of years, and inside of 5 minutes, a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode breaks out when you push the "don't tip" button while looking at the concessionaire right in his eyes, right
Here
in his
we
face.
go.
Don't tip. What? During the pandemic. This is the man is just trying to provide for his family, and it's just like $3 or $4 extra. And so I took $5 out of my pocket and gave it to him.
I know.
Everybody needs help all the time.
Yes.
Even Elon Musk, he doesn't need financial help, but he needs mental help. Hopefully we can get him, like some sort of therapy. Everybody needs help. And so when that happened, so help me God, my mind immediately went to Curb Your Enthusiasm, because that looks like something that Larry and Jeff would be up to at a stadium in LA, and then all of a sudden you hear the theme music and off we go. Do it. There you go. On that note, I have a question for Kurt.
Yeah.
As we close each of these, as we're going to again in a matter of seconds, do the people see me reaching for the button to get out of this thing, or do you edit it in a in a more graceful way, a professional way?
When you say that's a wrap, that's where I do it in post. I cut it right there in post.
Okay, so it looks fairly polished then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't.
Kel, do you agree? Because I haven't watched any of these things. Kel, do you agree that it looks fairly polished?
Did you guys hear that? Woo!
Oh, what's happening?
Thunder?
Oh, lightning and thunder. Woo!
Oh, I thought you were going to say gunfire. You're not on Dayton Avenue in St. Paul?
Or California.
Yeah, right. No, this is not South Central.
I think
Perlman's will protect me.
You better get that prayer going. We need something going here.
Art Perlman will protect me.
All right.
All right. Baruch atah Adonai. This meal is over, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for the polished close, Kurt. We're out of here.